Tarps Off Sports.
This is Sergio from Tarps Off Sports. I am joined by UFC heavyweight Jared Vanderaa. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm not doing too bad, man. I'm not doing too bad. Just got finished with a game of tennis, so a little bit sore, but overall not too bad.
Never played.
Man, it's a blast. It's exhausting, but it's a blast.
I do believe that. Like, a lot of people think it's an easy sport. I've seen people like, oh, it's this and that. I'm like, no, there's just a lot of quick sprints. Yeah, your sprint is only from here to here, but it's still here to there 110 times.
Absolutely, it's like a bunch of little bursts. Over time, it adds up. But yeah, man, I feel good. I'm ready for this interview. I guess first things first, to get this out of the way, man. Congrats on your first UFC win. How does it feel?
I don't know. It feels like a win. Like I wish I could be like, yo, it's the best feeling ever. There's like champagne showers everywhere. It feels like any other win. It's cool that it was a win in the UFC versus like a regional show. But at the end of the day, I'm happy for the win, and yeah, I can't really complain on that part.
Last time we spoke, you had just gotten signed to the UFC. You still hadn't had a fight yet. How has this past year been for you in terms of just like personally? Obviously getting signed to the UFC was huge, but on a personal note, how have you been the past year or so?
It's been wild. Like mid last year, me and my fiance were having some issues. We got them solved and engaged, and having another kid. So that comes with a giant plethora of other issues because my fiance is just a broken human, and she has all the issues with this pregnancy. So it's been a very fun, high-risk pregnancy. And going into this fight actually caused her a lot of stress, but one of her helping factors was the fact that she was actually in Vegas. She stayed at the MGM while I was stuck in a hotel. I knew that comforted her a bit. So it's been a little wild just because of all that. Businesses, they're doing okay considering we're finally getting out of the pandemic. And yeah, and career-wise, honestly, it's been pretty damn good. You can't really complain. Signing to the UFC, having 2 fights. Granted, one of them didn't go my way, but you turn around having 2 fights. Hoping to have a third one sooner than later. So yeah, it's actually been a interesting year, but we all could say that this year.
Overall, I'm sure training throughout all of that had to be very difficult. Did you manage to have? You're nodding your head. It wasn't that bad.
No, training was not affected. Just because I knew, like, one, I own my own gym. I don't really train out of here. Like, there's plenty of guys that have their own gym that they train out of. I still go to a different gym. I go to Dan Henderson's Athletic Center. I just own an offset of that, Team Quest Athletic Center in Hemet, California. But yeah, Dan's gym, they never stopped having practice and training, so we were constantly. I still was able to train full time there. I did take off maybe the first 2 months off, really, because I just got done with a fight in December. The whole month of January was me actually purchasing the gym, like purchasing, moving the gym, finding a location. So that took up a strong portion of my time. And then come like February, I'm too busy actually focusing on opening the gym that I really didn't know anything about COVID. I thought, oh, look at people are joking about virus, ha ha ha. And then I get a message from my fiance. She's like, they're going to be shutting the world down. And I'm like, no, they're not. And literally, like, the last day, like right before the pandemic hit, before they did full lockdown, I had my second to last fire inspection. And they're like, yeah, we're shutting the world down right now. I'm like, oh, this shit is kind of serious. And so once they said that, I'm like, I'll take a couple more weeks off. And then a couple weeks came, like, I'm like, all right, well, we'll take 2 months off. And then once I take those 2 months off, let's start going, getting back on the grind. And a few people ask me why. I'm like, dude, I've been training in and out for one fight camp after another fight camp after another fight camp, that I needed the break. I needed to have that break. And, luckily I forced myself to take those 2.5 months off. And now I'm at, like, this, after this fight, it's been almost 2 weeks now. I'm forcing myself to take at least a total of 3 to 4 weeks off. And just because I knew how it helped me just to recover mentally and physically, with the beginning of COVID, that I'm forcing myself to repeat that process now.
I know you said take some time off to recover mentally and physically. One of the things that you got taken care of was you got your wisdom teeth pulled shortly after the fight. Was that something that was like bothering you leading into it, or was that just something you need to get done?
So both my wisdom teeth were impacted, but the week of the Spivak fight, it shattered. One of them shattered halfway. So I think even after the fight, I was still I was spitting out little pieces of my tooth. Then they were like, "Oh yeah, you could get." So I do all my dentist appointments, and then I go see the oral surgeon. So I just go through the chain of command of dentistry, to get them done, and they're like, "Okay, well, you'll be out for 3 days, blah blah blah. You'll be fine." So I'm like, "All right, I can do this." I'm like, "Okay, if I do my math right, you said your available is in 3 weeks. Okay, that will give me a week before my fight. I'm good." They call me, they're like, "Hey, we can't get you in until May 18th." And I'm like, "That's the week of my fight." I'm like, "Hey, let's just do it right after my fight. Screw it. Like, I'm already committed this far. I already fought once with shattered tooth. What's one more fight?" I'm like, "Maybe he hits me hard enough, does the work for me." With that being said, I get my wisdom teeth pulled Wednesday, and it's been fucking hell. Like, I am so glad that I did not take my fight after these wisdom teeth. Oh, it's just been brutal. Uh, yeah, and then when they were extracting this tooth, oh, I felt everything. Oh, I was in so much pain. Like, I was shaking. I was tapping out. I was like, uh, and the worst thing is, that was more painful than the whole fight with Tafa combined. Like,
That's
I was good Monday. I'm still recovering from this, and I was up too. Like, I wasn't put under. Oh,
That's yeah. I had mine done as well, but I was put under. And to say it was more painful than the Tafa fight, and the Tafa fight was an absolute war. You guys got fight of the night. Reflecting back on that fight, how do you assess your performance? I think a lot of people had felt like he was going to have the striking advantage, and you put on a masterclass.
um, okay, so this is a weird one for me because, one, if you never watched me fight, I would kind of understand where people would be like, "Oh, he doesn't have any striking." But people that have seen me fight before, they're like, "Yeah, he could strike."
Hmm.
I mean, I don't think, like, I'm no Rico Verhoeven, but I don't think I'm a horrible striker. I love striking. I know how to stand up with the best of them. I personally believe that I wouldn't be scared to step up in any kickboxing ring. Now, I'm not saying I'm the best, but I'm not saying I'm scared to throw hands either. And a lot of people thought, because I talk about the fact that I have a black belt and stuff that I can't strike. I come from a gym known for grappling. but I fell in love with striking a long time ago. And so, yeah, it was just one of those things where, like, people were like, oh, this and that. And, like, I'm just like, well, it's nice for you guys to finally know who I am.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I thought you looked incredible. There was one moment in the fight where you got cut, and it looked a lot worse on TV than I think it did for you. Were you worried at all about the cut during that fight because it was bleeding all over the place?
Yeah, so it's this little mark right here.
Yeah,
Uh, and yeah, it, okay. I knew I was gonna bleed. I'm a bleeder. Like I accepted that a long time ago. Uh, so I wasn't like, oh my god, I'm bleeding. Was I shocked by the amount of blood? Not really. I not like I said. I bleed a lot, so it was like, oh. But for like a lot of people, they're like, oh my god, this is insane. I'm just like, yeah, it's a typical fight night.
getting fight of the night, does that like is that like a motivation for you? Like, is it nice to get that extra a bit of cash, but also praise from the UFC, knowing that performance you put on?
Oh yeah, no. The fact that like I thought it was cool that I got a message saying, "Oh, dude, like I was literally getting stitched up when I got like my phone started going off immediately, and like it was already going off because I just got done with the fight, but there was like one moment where I'm just like I'm seeing my messages from my mom, my fiance, like my family, some of my friends, and then just a bunch of like regular messages from people I don't talk to often. Like, yo, Dana posted you. I'm like, oh, and then I just ignore all the messages. Boom, I'm like, cool, like, and it's a really good picture of me covered in blood. So I was like, all right, like I'll take it. Like I can't complain. I
Oh,
was nervous though because like Cody and Font, I was like, oh, that's going to be a hard fight. I was like, I'm like, Cody, win, just do it boringly.
yeah, it was an amazing fight, and it's kind of funny because the past few weeks they've been putting on heavyweight fights in the main event slot. I think hoping for a fight like that, and you guys delivered. Just as much him as you. I thought it was an amazing fight. The two of you went and it was amazing. And man, congrats on the 50K. Congrats on the win. After the fight, you called up Ben Rothwell, who was also on the card. I know that fight, for whatever reason, it's not going to happen. But what was it about that fight that interested you?
Nothing in particular. Honestly, I just thought Ben was okay. So I know he stated in one podcast that it was disrespectful, and if he takes it that way, that's on him. But my thing was, he fought, I fought. I'm a fan of him. I figured he was down to bang. I was like, all right, hey, if you want a quick turnaround, do you want to fight? It was more me kind of asking him. It's like, hey, like personally, I would love to fight Orlowski. Orlowski would be my dream fight. I'm a huge fan. I have nothing but mad respect for him, and like to have the moment to share the octagon with Orlowski would be an ideal fight for me. But in the same vein, I have a lot of respect for Ben Rothwell. Like I ran into him, I greeted him. I had there's no ill will, no disrespect on my end or where I'm coming from, but he took it however Like let's be real, he's kind of a weird dude. He takes things the way however he takes them. But it was just one of those things where I brought it up to my manager. He brought it up to his manager. The managers brought it up to Mick. Mick was like, no. And I'm like, okay. And it's not a big enough deal for me to like push the pressure of like, oh, I just figured he wants to fight. I want to like he seems like a fighter. I'm a fighter. I like to fight anyone and everybody. So like, did you want to fight? It sounds like he wants to fight. It's just right now the timing is not working out. Does that mean that we'll never fight? No, it just means eventually when we get a chance, we will fight. And hey, who knows? It might not be in the cage. We might, run into each other at a gym and train together, and that might be the extent of our fighting. But regardless, I just want to fight somebody. I'm not very picky.
In terms of turnaround time, I know you said you're taking some time off, wisdom teeth, spending some time with your kids as well. But what's an ideal timeline for your return?
Yesterday was the ideal time. But I'm kind of stuck on late August, early September. Not by choice. Lauren was like, "Hey," the fiance was like, "Hey, you have to wait until this baby's out. Like, I can't emotionally handle you punching someone in the face and the stress of fight week. I'm like, all right. We'll just have to wait until the kid's out, and then I'll have another fight." So, or we're looking at, we're looking roughly around late July, early August for the baby to be born. So I'm thinking either late August, mid September, the latest.
Well, on the last note, congratulations on having a new baby. And I guess lastly, is there any where can people follow you? How can they follow you on social media?
You can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, which I do not use. At Jared Vanderaa. I'm officially more famous on TikTok than I am on Instagram, which is a little disappointing, but hey, you jump to where the fans are, I guess.